Hello, so if you've been following the gsxr build, last time we got the swing arm and the shock in. I've had a bit of time to clean some more bits and pieces up to get the back wheel in. So we've got the axle pin greased up, again copper grease on the threads, cleaned up the caliper mount bracket, polished that, cleaned the old disc up. Ideally I wanted one to match the fronts, but running low on cash, so we'll make do. Got chain adjuster bolts, disc bolts, which I've used a flat wheel just to, refurbish. Same with the chain blocks, not the best, I prefer gold, but I can't seem to find any for the O2 at the minute. Wheel nuts, same again, just cleaned them up. The tip for like your anodised nuts, I'll just wrap a bit of electrical tape around them, and when you do them up, you're not scraping all your new stuff. And then some Loctite for the disc bolts. We'll get the subframe wiped down and the air ducts, so we'll get them bolted on as well. So yeah, we'll continue watching. I'll show you how to get the back wheel all sorted and back in the bike. Clean the chain up with some, normally use WD-40, but there's GT85 we've got at the minute. Good stuff just to clean up, and yeah, I'll just stop this and spin the camera around. First things first, got your super sprocket, seats on there, quite nice, and you've got your 5 nuts. And normally always I'll do these up in a pattern, so start with 1 and then go there, 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 just so you nip them down ever so slowly, and it should sit nice and even. So once you've done that, just check that your sprocket's seated onto the wheel. Looks good. You can always nip them up once it's back together on its wheels, just to double check them, which probably going to leave that tape on because I'll do that. So then flip her over, and you've got your brake disc. Same again, do them up in a pattern. I tend to put a bit of Loctite on these. Don't need to go overboard with the Loctite because you'll have trouble getting them out if you ever need to. So like I say, them up in a pattern, and then I'll nip them up once it's back on the floor. Just got an Allen key and a ring spanner. Get a bit of leverage on it. You can see that's what happens with the cheap Allen key. So check that that's all seated nice. So that's ready to go in. Next you want to screw your chain tensioner bolts into the back of the swing arm. So that's them two in. Worth mentioning as well, I had my wheels powder coated last year. Whilst I was at it, I did change all the bearings in the wheels. Better off going to like a bearing shop rather than getting them from main dealer. Work out about £8, so it saves you a lot of money. Just need the numbers off the old ones, that's all. So right, once they're in, on your left hand side you'll have a spacer that's like a dust shield that sits in the wheel. And then your caliper will sit on obviously your disc. And rest that on. It does have a bar that goes in underneath, but I haven't polished that up yet. So then you want a chain block. Well, we put the other side spacer in. Right hand side is just a normal spacer. And you've got your pin which has got flat either side, which obviously fits on that chain block so that locks it in. See that? And then your flat end goes towards your chain tensioner bolt. And try once that's in, I've got plenty of grease on it. It should slide through real nice. And get the other side chain block. It's also got a bulkier side which goes towards your chain adjuster bolt, and then your nut and your washer. I'll stick them on there. And that's in. So now we can get the chain on before we tighten it all up. So I'll find my chain tool. Again, you pick these chain tools up, fairly cheap, come in handy, push bikes and motorbikes. So get the chain on. Try and tap that on. It's easy, you put both ends on your sprocket and then you can push your pin through with your chain tool. I just realised I'm missing a couple of little rubber O-ring pieces that go in the joint, so I'll pause this and then I'll try and find them. So there we go, I found the O-rings, got the chain back together. You either know how to use a chainsaw or you don't. You just have to sort of push the pin through with a soft link and then crimp the other side. But if you're unsure, I'd recommend getting that done. I have used the usual split links on these before on a 750 and it was alright, but people recommend the actual soft links. So that's all in, wheels in. Obviously use your chain tensioners to get your tension on your chain. You don't want it too tight. You want some movement up and down on that. And won't put any stress on your engine then. But that all seems to be sounding good. There's no links snagging anywhere. Obviously, again, nip the back wheel up once it's all on the floor. I call it a night tonight because it's getting on a bit. Took me a while to find the bits for the chain. There's a problem with taking a while to do this, but in the end, I was in the chain toolbox, so grease them up, put them in. Job's a good one. So carry on, bolt some more bits on tomorrow. I've got a few bits to do, polish on the subframe, so. So following on, we've took it off the stands, back on its wheels, and I bolted the subframe on, which is just 2 bolts down the back, and the cables sit above it, the throttle cables, and then you wire off this side, switches goes through the centre, you can see that of the subframe. But yeah, it's back on its wheels. I've dragged it outside, fairly dull day, but you can definitely see the polishing looks quite nice. So we're getting there, and bear with me, I'm just going to finish polishing the bottom pieces of the subframe, these pieces, and clean up the 4 bolts. And the aim is to get that on, and then we can start tidying all the wiring up, get it where it needs to be. So we've polished up the bottom of the subframe. That's the part you see. The seat car finishes the rest. Give all the plastic a good clean. That tends to be just got 2 bolts underneath, one there and one on the top there. And then I've got to sort the back out because it's got an under tray and that fits on it, so the 2 bolts will hold it for now. Clean the bolts up, so we'll get that bolted on. And a 12mm socket. Yeah, make sure all them are tight, and that's the subframe on. Next we'll tape up and tidy the wiring and thread it all through into the back. So another little thing that I done on a few bikes, it's got an hole in the frame which is an access point into one of the screws on the inlet. But what I'll do is I get a gold bolt with a red washer and then a Form A Form A washer, 6mm, and a Form A rubber washer on the back of that, see that, and then a full nut M6 again, wind that on, and you can push that into the hole and tighten it up. Yeah, looks a little bit better than your standard little grey creamy coloured bung. So a bit of messing about, but helps put a bit of grease on the rubber washer, get that in, just another little finishing touch on the frame. So I've got the front wiring hanging down this side of the bike, and then the rear wiring down the other side. I'm going to go around it with some red tape just to freshen it all up, and then we're going to cover it with some cable tidy stuff which comes in different sizes. It'll just neaten the old loom up. So I'll crack on with that, then we'll get some red part radiator hoses on, so then we can button it all up where it needs to be. So I'm going to crack on and do the rest of the wiring, but you might think why bother, but when you see, you do get a glimpse of some of the wiring right behind your screen, or where it threads through in your fairing to your back end. Just gives you a lot more protection on the wiring, tidies everything up, and just looks a bit more professional. So like I say, if you think why bother, then why bother with the old bike, do you know what I mean? So we're back in the shed. We've sorted the wiring loom out, all nice and tidy, a bit more robust on the front. So I'm just going to change this water hose. Got a few more pieces to do, but we're on track for hopefully getting an MOT week on Thursday, 1st of April. So I've still got brakes, just bits and pieces, engine casings, get the wiring in, get the rad on. I'm hoping to get a lot of that done this week. I'm still waiting for the fairing, so we'll better to change these one at a time, because then you can just match them up and get them fitted on. And crack on with that. Well, I've got that one out. I think it'd be easier to change these two small ones as well, just so I can get my hand in a bit better. So I want to use a screwdriver just to help wiggle the hoses off, and then where they've been sat, if you've got any bit of corrosion around, just a bit of Scotch-Brite, just clean up where it sits. It seems to be that piece short, so I'll go back down and get one of them. This piece is the other breather. It's got the piece that fits in on the expansion tank the other side, so we'll get that one on. see where that runs. That's that one. And I'm going to put the heat shield back on it because it's not on show, so. That's them two on. I've still got to swap that other pipe over, so I'll get the wiring tucked up a bit. So there you go. That's runs up behind the fairing up to the top, you can see, and then it goes round underneath. I just had to undo this again just to the wire sits in nicely behind it, up to your two fuses that clip in the top on a rubber. You've got your horn wiring which obviously goes under to near the radiator, so I remember where that bolts on. Two lots of indicator wiring, and all these connections just sitting underneath here. Once your fairing's on, we can cable tie it up or whatever and out of the way. Just hide it all. And then you just got your wiring comes through the top for your two headlights and your clocks. And yeah, we'll fathom it out. They've all got their own connections, different blocks, so they're easy, pretty straightforward to clip together. So I'm going to call it a night tonight, but that side's done. Tomorrow I'll do the other side and we'll start sorting the radiator out. So I'm going to try and wrap this part of the video up just before I do the next part. It's midweek and it's not easy with the wife on nights and the kids to look after, so just got down here about, what is it, 9:25. So I was just going to have a tinker about and do a few little bits. I got the back wire all tidied up and wrapped up. Comes into the back. You've got your brain, your CDI unit, and then all the connections, little thing there, not sure what that is, but it bolts through there. And you've got that there, which is that way power from your starter and the motor, and that goes to the cables coming off the battery. And then you've got your earth cable, and then there's some bits and pieces, relays that go on the front down there. That's all in, ran that in. Wiring for the backlight and the indicators, and then this one, I've got a power commander on it. It was already on the bike, but last time I had it dynoed, it was the best fueled bike of the day, so I'm just going to leave it as it is. But yeah, just tonight I'm going to just get a few cable ties here and there just to stop things flapping about on the wiring. I've got to try and sort out a bracket for the front brake reservoir, which I'm going to try and get on the end of this bar, because originally it bolts to the original handlebar. I've got a bit of an issue with the brake levers just touching the subframe on full. It's not quite making full lock on the tabs on the bottom yoke, which lock to lock is be an MOT failure, but I've got a little bit of room. I can move that up there, and if you look the other side, there's quite a gap, so I can tilt them in a bit closer to the frame and try and get them all clear in. Get a couple of clips on the wiring that goes on. Maybe get me paddock stand bobbins on so that I can stand it up a bit straighter. And then in my next video I'll be doing the rest of the water pipes, engine casings, brakes, and obviously footrests and bits and pieces. Go around and make sure everything's tight. So still waiting on the fairing. It's still saying it's not yet in the UK, so I was hoping to get an MOT in about 9 days, but I've got everything crossed at the minute that it turns up in time. So I've got 3 days left at work and then I've got 10 days off, so as long as it comes, should have it all running and built. It'll all be running anyway, but might just be waiting for the fairing, but hopefully not too long, because as long as lockdown's up we should be allowed out, but it'll be going on an essential journey if not anyway. So I'll just do these bits and then I'll show you what I've got done, and then I'll post that video on, and then another week hopefully get another one on. It'll be near enough finished. So just wrapping this video up for this week. Sorry it's a little late going on. I've done what I said. I've cable tied a lot of the wiring up, tidied all that up, put a clip down there, rolled them ones in, got a few more just to cable tidy up once I know where things are going to be. I'll have a look at this, but I think where I want it to mount, I'm just going to use a bar end and bolt that straight to the end, but I'm going to have to get a bit of longer pipe and a lot of messing about. The clip-ons sit slightly lower than the original bars, so I've done it. It turns lock to lock, but I've got about 2mm clearance on the subframe and a couple of mil clearance between the switch and the frame, but it does turn lock to lock. Might have to just tilt the levers up a slight bit more once I get the fairing, because I'm not sure if it's going to touch down there. Once it turns down, it's going to be close. So by all these trick bits, and you do have to mess about a little bit, but I say it's enough to make your blood boil trying to sort them out. I had to spin the switches round, adjust the levers, take the lever off to get to the bolts in there. But if you just take your time, just do it loosely to get it where you want, and then nip everything up. But you're putting your life in your hands when you go out on these, so just double and triple check everything's nice and tight, and yeah, and then again, like, just keep checking, make sure everything's tight. Obviously it goes for an MOT, but good idea to check your bolts as well after you've been out for the first couple of rides or after your first ride. So I'm going to crack on hopefully this week and get some more videoing done. Sorry about any quality issues, I'm only using an old phone, and video editing skills aren't probably brilliant, but doing what we can. But thanks for watching, please subscribe, and hopefully I'll get another video on at the end of this week or beginning of next week.